Okay, we want to give the users an opportunity to select which page they want to go to, and we'll use an Angular Bootstrap component to do this. And if we go to the documentation, then we do have available inside here a pagination component. It's going to do exactly what you probably think it is going to do, and that's what we'll implement inside our component. Now this one's pretty straightforward to use, and if we take a look at some of the examples, then we just need to select which kind of style we want. I'm going to go for this custom links content, where we have the double arrows at the left and the right. And if we just use the double angle brackets, then we can get the kind of code we need for this. And pretty straightforward to use. So we're going to use the pagination component, and inside the component we could see what we need to use for this. And yeah, not too much really. We'll need to use the pagination module, but then this will give us access to the pagination component we're going to use, and then we can configure it to work with our code. So I'll copy this into my clipboard and go back to VS Code, and in the member list component, let's just drop it in to our application inside this component just below our closing div there. And we'll need to go to our member list component, and in our imports, then let's import the pagination module. And that is not going to want to import all by itself. So I'll just go back to the documentation and scroll up to the API, and we need to get this from ngx bootstrap pagination. So I'll copy that into my clipboard and go to the top of the file and just paste this inside here, and then the error goes away. And looks like I've got something I can remove as well. And if we go and take a look at the list component, then the error has now gone away from this. And if we take a look at what it looks like, and we go back to our client app and we go back to matches, this gives us pagination. But we'll center it underneath our content here, and we'll make it work is our goal. So let's add a div that we can put this inside of, and we'll give our div a class of d-flex and justify-content-center, and we'll take our pagination and cut this and drop it inside, and let's try and tidy things up a bit. So the total items and the other elements we're going to get from our service. I'll just move this stuff down first of all. And then for the total items, this is the count, of course. And we need to get this from our member service, which we do have access to because this is not classed as a private thing. So we've got access to our member service inside here. And we can just go ahead and use our signal to get this information. So I'm going to say member service and paginated results at the parentheses, and we want to get the pagination.total items. And let's see what this complaint is. And it's got a complaint about the number or undefined is not assignable to type number. Okay, so let's add a conditional around our pagination, and we'll use the control flow here. So we'll add an if statement, and we'll say member service.paginated results and .pagination. So if we do have that, then we'll cut our content here and put it inside the if statements, and that should have resolved that issue. Let's take out the question marks from these because we should have this now. And okay, it doesn't seem that's going to solve the problem here. So I'm going to cheat because we're inside an if statement. Then we can guarantee that if we're displaying this component, we have the pagination. So that should, in theory, work without needing the TypeScript getOut operator, which is that exclamation mark there. But I'm going to say this is safe because we are defensive up here, and we're only going to display this component if we do have the pagination inside the paginated result. So then we'll pass through the items per page, and once again member service.paginated results and pagination and the items per page, And it looks like once again I'm going to have to swap the question mark there for an exclamation mark. And then we need to give this a page changed event, and we'll call page changed, and this is something we are going to have to create. So I'll pass through the event, but we'll create the page changed in a moment. And we'll also specify a max size of 10. The amount of possible pages that are going to be displayed in the pagination component at any one time. So if we had 1 million users, then we wouldn't see 100,000 possible options for the user to click on. They would see 10, and then there would be ellipses in the middle, as I'm sure you've seen in other pagination components before. So we need to specify this page changed event, and we'll add that to our member list component. And we'll say page changed, and we'll pass through the event, and I'm just going to use the any type for this. And we'll say if list.page number is not equal to event.page, and we do this little check because it's probably not necessary anymore, or it still might be. It's just this component has always been a bit buggy in terms of it gets called twice on occasions, but this is just a historical check that I always put in because it doesn't do any harm, and it makes sure that we only move forward a page or back a page or whatever if it is different to the event page, or the event page is different to the page number. And then we'll say list.page number is equal to the event.page, and then we'll call list.load members to go and get the next batch of members. And if we check our progress, then we can see our pagination component has gone down to 3 pages. Sounds about right. If we click on page 2, we see loading, we get taken to page 2. If we click on page 3, I've got 2 users on page 3, and then we can go back to page 1, page 2, and that's the result we're looking for right now. And that's pagination taken care of. And next we'll take a look at adding some filters. And again, we'll start off in our API to do that.